You can join us live for our next BookFunnel webinar. Check out the link in the description for more details. We hope to see you there. I do want to talk about this question of getting reviewers, finding reviewers from BookFunnel promos. This is a question that some authors have. In fact, some authors join BookFunnel, and maybe you did, specifically because you're trying to get more reviews for your books. You're trying to find readers for your ARC team or your review team. And there's a number of suggestions out there and for authors in this position. And oftentimes people are told, hey, just go to BookFunnel. Right? So if you're new to BookFunnel, you might be coming to the table with some ideas of or expectations of how that's going to work. And so I want to be very clear about how you're going to find those readers, how you're going to get reviews on your books from BookFunnel group promos, because there are different services out there that do this differently. Some of you might be familiar with, for example, Booksprout. I'm just going to use them as an example. There are other services out there that do something very similar. They're just, I think, probably one of the more well-known ones. Booksprout allows you to post your book on their site. It is discoverable to some extent publicly, and readers get brought there by other authors and can find your book. Right. So in some respects, essentially, the authors are bringing the readers to Booksprout for the most part. Some of those readers stick around and they find your book. Ideally, it's going to be in their genre, right? So from genre to genre, your results might vary, but that's the way that you find reviewers through Booksprout, right? Through BookFunnel, it's a little different, but it is very similar in some ways. BookFunnel does not keep a list of readers. We don't have ARC readers or reviewers that we have on a list that we share with authors or anything like that. Your readers are your readers. So when you bring readers to a BookFunnel group promo, by sharing it or participating in it, those are still your readers, and we respect that. So while readers use our service and they get books from you and from other authors, they use the BookFunnel app, we do not store their contact information and put them on a list that we then share with other authors. Right? That's one of the things we've always stuck to, and kind of one of our key focus points, if you will. Your readers are your readers. But if you need to find reviewers, how do you go about doing that? Well, first thing you do, come to the group promos tab here on your dashboard, and you're going to find promos in your genre. Specifically, let's look at science fiction and fantasy. I would specifically recommend you go for a newsletter promo. Right? A newsletter promo allows readers to download a free copy of a book in exchange for typically joining your mailing list. So this is a perfect place to put your ARC. You can put an ARC into a newsletter promo, right? And you can create a landing page with a custom call to action and add that to a newsletter promo. That's going to be usually no problem. There are some promos that you might find that are specific for ARCs as well. And if you find one of those, that just means that they're focused on that. Authors can choose to organize promos in that way, but any newsletter promo should do. When you create a landing page for an ARC, here's what I would recommend. So I have an example page here. Pretty sure this has the verbiage on it. Here we go. So in this case, this is an email collection page. I've added a few bits of custom text here to make it clear that this is an ARC or this is a review copy. So I'm stating here, claim your review copy of title. I'm saying the button says join the team, as in join the ARC team, right? And then I have a disclaimer here. And you can customize that. You don't have to use this exactly or copy this exact style, but you can do something similar to this. Say this is a review copy. By claiming it, you'll be added to the author's review team. Reviews are appreciated, but not mandatory. This book isn't for you, no worries. I always recommend you give readers a way out if maybe your book isn't for them. And the author will be in touch with you soon to follow up regarding your review. They fill out this form to join your review team. They get added to your mailing list and they get the book. And then from there, it's up to you to follow up with those readers. Now, this is actually might seem like it's going to take longer than some other methods out there. And it would be simpler, perhaps, to just get a list of readers and send them your book. But if you don't already have that list of readers, to be honest with you, you need to build that list of readers. It's much better if you build that list than if you go out and buy someone else's list or anything of the sort. There are lots of different ways out there. I'm not going to discuss all the different ways for you to get reviews. There's some services that kind of do more of like a pay-to-play sort of thing. You're not paying directly for reviews, but you kind of are. It's kind of a gray area. You can kind of get into trouble with some of those things if you abuse them or misuse them, right? I don't recommend that. In the long run, It's going to be much more effective if you build that list yourself, you build that team yourself, and group promos can be a way that you can find those readers. We also have a webinar that I want to point you to in our playlist on automating your ARC team. So in this playlist here, automating your ARC team. This is the webinar that I would recommend you check out. It talks about this more in depth. The idea being that you can put a book, kind of a review magnet is one thing we talk about in that webinar, into those promos. And you use that as a way to then vet those readers to see who's going to be reliable, which readers are going to follow through leaving their review. And then those are the readers that you provide future ARC copies to in that method. So I highly recommend you check that out if you are looking to build a list of reviewers through BookFunnel. But it can be done in promos. Again, build a landing page that's something like this that has some of this information and put that into newsletter promos in your genre. Very important that you find promos that are a good fit for your genre. If you are, for example, again, using science fiction and fantasy here as an example, let's say you wrote science fiction. I myself am a science fiction author. I would not recommend going into general fiction to find newsletter promos in here. General fiction, usually that's excludes science fiction. You're going to find readers who are looking for something else, and that's going to be very visible in your reviews. If you write science fiction that is non-romance, I recommend not putting your science fiction romance into regular science fiction promos, or vice versa, right? If you do have a book that is a romance and paired maybe with another subgenre, right? Maybe you write historical romance. Don't put that into a historical fiction promo. You're going to get readers that are historical fiction readers that might not be your target audience. That's going to reflect in your reviews. So again, the pipeline there, join promos. You can put your ARC directly into them. Those readers will claim the free book. And then after that, keep in mind that it is a numbers game. And this is the final note that I'll make here. It is a numbers game. You're going to be giving away maybe 100, 200 copies of your ARC or the review copy of your book. Not all of those readers are going to review your book, right? It's a numbers game. It's dependent on the quality of your book, which is very subjective. So keep that in mind. It's also highly dependent on how and the way that you follow up with them. And so keep that in mind as well. You need to usually follow up with those readers every week or so, see if they've started reading that book. Make sure you have a clear date for when you're expecting them to leave the review, even if you're going to be flexible with them, which I highly recommend you do, right? That sort of thing. Following up with them after the fact is really important as well.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.